All right, all right, all right. Peace and blessings, family. Tonight on the STEM Files, we talk about siblings in STEM, going over our various topics tonight with Amin Muhammad and Nadi Muhammad, and it's going to be a family affair. Tune in for more after this. All right, all right, all right, family. Welcome back to another. All right, we're good, we're good. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome back, family, to another installment and episode of the STEM Files. Tonight's episode is Siblings in STEM. I am one of your co-hosts, the brilliant engineer. I hope y'all have missed me. I have missed you all as well. Been a bit MIA for some time working on some things. But again, I'm your host, one of your hosts, Jabril, engineer. I am a mechanical engineer and in-service engineering agent for the United States Navy, working in auxiliary ship fluid systems. I have a background in material science and engineering from the University of Pennsylvania, where I focused on failure analysis and metallurgy. I'm also the director of engineering for our parent company of the STEM Files, which is Original Man Scientific, where we are geared towards delivering the advantages of R&D to marginalized groups around the world. I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, Tariq Cardiac, been holding it down for me for the last several weeks. Tariq, what's going on, family?
What's going on, family? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. We got you.
Sir.
All right, cool. Yes, as Will said, I am Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I'm a biomedical research scientist with a concentration in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is pretty much the science of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. Ready to get started, bro?
That's what I'm talking about. All right. As we have shown on social media before tonight's show, tonight is a family affair. This is a great and special edition of tonight's show that's really long overdue. We have my younger brother, who's coming into his own, Amin Muhammad, and we have Tariq's younger sister, Sister Nadia Muhammad, joining us tonight to talk to us about, their respective journeys in STEM, mechanical engineering, and sign language. So we want to get right into it and kind of have them talk a bit about themselves and then move forward. So what's going on, family? Amin, what's up?
Peace and blessings, family. Like Jabril said, my name is Amin Muhammad. I'm a rising senior mechanical engineering major from Howard University. Like Jabril said, my background is in mechanical engineering. Over the last 2 summers, I've had opportunities of doing internships and research-based internships at the University of California, San Diego, in the nano engineering department. So I've been into some heavy work over the summer and ready to get the semester started with some more work, of course.
Nice. Happy to hear it. Looking forward to all the things you do. Sister Nadia, what's good?
Hello.
Oh, God.
How
you doing, sis?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you on again.
It's good to be on here. Last time it was like just voice. Time is space and voice.
That's right. This is the part 2 for you. That's true.
Yeah, the last. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the last time you were on the show was on our Blog Talk Radio platform, and I'm glad you're on the show on this platform because you actually get to show off your skills in sign language. You couldn't really do that on Blog Talk. You can't hear sign language, so I'm glad to have you on. It's good to dialogue with you in this way outside of how we normally talk on a brother sister kind of language. So I'm happy that you're on here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So who wants to go first and tell us about themselves?
Well, it's actually Nadia's turn. I mean, actually just gave us a little bit of a sneak peek. So we're actually gonna go over and have Sister Nadia kind of give us a little bit more about what she does, and then keep it moving from there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate that. Right now, I am still currently attending Reynolds Community College. I'm not a certified interpreter as of yet. So not quote unquote an interpreter because I'm not certified to practice in that field yet. But I did receive my career study certificate in American Sign Language from Reynolds Community College. It's just right now at this point, what I can do, I could be a teacher's aide or an assistant, some interpreter. I also what is that word? I'm trying to look for the word.
Take your time.
Sorry about that. Lost.
No, you good.
You good. I got a question already. Okay.
I'm done.
No, right. Awesome. So, it's so funny, when we had you all on the show, somebody asking, okay, well, we got mechanical engineering, we got American Sign Language, this is a science show, but, when you really think about it, obviously it may be more obvious that mechanical engineering is a science, but sign language in of itself, you mentioned that you focus on American Sign Language. So is there a reason that American part is in front of it? Are there different types of sign language? And what are basically some of the differences between them? And kind of how can you recognize which one you're using?
Gotcha. That's a great question. So American Sign Language, of course, is so I'm not going to say it's English because sign language is not English.
Right.
But it's based off of the English language to communicate to how people communicate using the English language, but it's not exactly English. But of course, the words that they use are English words.
Mm.
But in itself, it's not technically, or it's not English. I'm not even gonna say technically, it's not English at all. But just like there's Spanish, how people speak Spanish verbally, there's Spanish sign language, there's Arabic sign language, there's German, there's French. So just like how English and Spanish and German and French, all of those can be applied towards sign language. So French, Spanish, Arabic, German, so forth. So that's why I said American language, not just sign language, because it's not really specifying what I'm using as a basis for that language to use to convert it into sign language for a deaf person or a person to understand. That's if they speak sign language themselves.
Wow. So I always knew I was like there was like an American Sign Language and like standard sign language or something. I always knew of at least two. And I was like, well, what's the main difference between these two? And I'm like, I would imagine that just like there's different alphabets, there will be different sign languages based on what language you're speaking.
Yep.
Switching over to our meme real quick because this language thing is key. We talk about there's hundreds of languages spoken around the world, and what is a quote that I'm going to paraphrase, and it talks about mathematics being a universal language. In your studies and everything in mechanical engineering, and even before that, how has that adage been used or seen in your life in STEM, and kind of how does it apply now when you think about the universality of math, going person to person and place to place?
Well, you're right on point when you say, mathematics being a universal language. Just talking about what I'm in, which would be mechanical engineering. I think most people know, like Jabril knows, you do a lot of math. So from when you're younger to when you're in your major and everything like that. But I think that I've really seen, especially on this, journey I've been on, I've really seen math in everything I've really done. And especially if you don't just do look at mechanical engineering, you look at chemical engineering, civil engineering, Jabril's background, material science and engineering, you really see that background that you talked about and that kind of being universal with everything related to STEM in general. So I think that's what that's how I see mathematics as being universal. Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, that. Oh, go ahead, bro.
No, you got it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I like we're big on, you know, Jabril and I, we're big on scientists and engineers being able to communicate what they do effectively. And I like to ask every guest that comes on the show this question. And I want to ask Nadia this question and Amin, when it comes to communicating what you do or what area of STEM that you're in, because I consider sign language STEM because it's a science.
Right.
How do you feel about communicating what you do effectively? And have you been able to do it successfully with people that don't know anything about what you do? Or not what you do, well, what you study, vice versa. Nadia, you can't say that.
Oh, yeah.
My bad.
All right. So I have been able to communicate effectively on what I plan on doing. It's just sometimes there can be a little bit of confusion with people not understanding how it could be a language not spoken, or with people not understanding that a language is something that has its own grammatical context and syntax and structure. So of course it's a language, but there's still some back and forth, and there's still some people that feel, oh, some people, okay, so there's some people in the deaf community who are able to use their voice and can speak clearly, but of course they still can't really they can't hear clearly at all. So some people, oh, if you can speak, why don't you just speak? Or if you can speak, then obviously you can hear. And some people have a confusion with that, and so that's what I have to express and reiterate time after time. But as far as like the people who understand it and who are grasping it, who are trying to learn more about it, it's not really a back and forth type of conversation. It's me telling them what it is, doing with it, and how it.
Got you. Okay. I mean, what about you?
This is a really jam-packed question. For me, I definitely see that communication aspect in research conferences, or just trying to be in a lab group, conveying your research to someone else that doesn't do that. And I think that's been probably my biggest form of practice in conveying what I do to other people. A lot of times when you go to national conferences, you're in big spaces with a lot of people that don't study what you study. And there are judges coming over, there are students coming over, and they're all asking, what is it, what do you do? What is it you study? And this person, you could be, researching biology, but there may be a person who has a civil engineering background that comes over to you and asks you about biology. And you have to be able to explain it in a way that they walk away understanding, hey, I know what you're doing. I didn't know prior. When I looked at the poster or I looked at your slides, I didn't know what you were studying prior to this, but now I really understand. I think I just had, when I just presented at the University of California, San Diego Summer Research Conference, in preparation for my presentation, I went over with my group, my slides and what I was going to present on. And one of the girls at the end of it said, she said, wow, she said, to be honest, when you began, she said, I was thinking like, I have no idea what you're about to say. By the end of it, she was like, wow, she said, I think that was really good because I didn't have any knowledge of what you were saying. And now I understand it. And I also think that's when you use, from at least my field, that's when you use real world applications. So if you're talking about engineering, or you're talking about something I did last summer, solute diffusion of hydrogels, someone's gonna say, well, what's a hydrogel? What does a hydrogel look like in my world? I'm not an engineer, I'm a teacher in English or whatever. What does that look like? So I think you have to always bring it back to something that people can relate to. So
yeah, that's big. Being able to point out something in their environment that, hey, look, that's an example of a hydrogel. Or if somebody was to ask me, give me an example of a lipid, and I'd show them butter or, oil that they're using on their bald head, like my brother. Just stuff like that, But yeah, but this next question, Nadia, you still there?
She be good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this next question is for both of y'all as well. As Jabril mentioned earlier on the show, this is a family affair where all of us are in STEM in some way. But Nadia, as you know, when we were coming up, we wanted to be doctors. Like we would we would do everything,
Yep.
study everything we can get our hands on to become physicians. We knew all the branches of medicine. We knew exactly what area we wanted to specialize in and all that. I stuck with it. Hold on.
Oh,
So,
no.
but this is a good question because you decided to go in a different direction, and I always admired that. What made you turn gears in your path in terms of what you wanted to do in life? What made you go from being an OBGYN, pediatrician, then back to OBGYN to now sign language? What made you change directions? And what was it about sign language that, okay, look, this is what I want to do with my life?
Don't forget, I wanted to be a brain surgeon and a lawyer. Remember?
Right. I don't remember the lawyer part, but I do remember the brain surgeon.
That's a mixture.
You could be all- you still got time. You still got time.
So, as you know, mommy home me and my brother for 6 years. Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah.
And so felt that we needed socialization, but she didn't want just to be the typical type of socialization. She wanted us to learn something from it. She was like, "I'll go socialize." So she put us in a program called Deaf Dance Jam Workshop, and it incorporated silent style dance. Harry didn't really like it too much. He was okay with it, but it wasn't his cup of tea.
Okay.
I ate it up. I loved everything about it. I loved the people. I loved deaf people, the language, their culture. I just think it was just so beautiful and just so if you like just looking at the language or just looking at somebody's sign, it's just like so breathtaking. I think that moment I realized that okay, this is for me. I connected with the group on a different level that Tyreek did. He did connect with them, but not on the same wavelength that I did. And that's when I knew, okay, this is something for me. This is something that I know I can do, something I can be good at. And I wasn't really set on being an interpreter at that time. But I talk a lot about it. That's all I talk about. I did a lot of research about it. My main at the time when I was a kid, my main goal was like, okay, how much money can I make from this? Now it's in the back of my brain, but now that's not my main focus. And so that's when I realized, okay, money is no longer an involvement in this. So that's when I know this is my passion. This is something I do. And then I met somebody when I was in 10th grade. Her name was Desiree Hines, and she was my best friend, and she was deaf. And I loved that girl to the moon and back.
Wow.
And she passed away a couple of years ago. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I was going to quit. I was going to stop everything. I was just going to find something else to do because it was getting to be a little bit challenging. It was getting more difficult than what I was expecting. But at that moment, I realized, okay, I can't stop because what I've seen her go through and what I see her struggle with while we were in school together. I didn't want somebody else to have that same experience. So that's when, for me, is when I knew that this is definitely it. So there was a lot of aspects of my life where I realized, okay, you got to keep going. This is it. But when I was younger, my mother was homeschooling us. That's when I knew, okay, something I really do. How do I express this? But say this without getting clowned or getting judged. But I did eventually. Everybody pretty much knew. I mean, it was nothing to hide, nothing that was so bad that I had. It was just the medical field was just so set forth in my family, like brain. It was just like, okay, how do I like convey what I really want? But that's when from when my mother they set the program.
Wow.
Gotcha. And you mentioned something about, when we were children, whatever we decided we were going to be when we grow up, when we become adults, it had to involve something that was making a lot of money. That's what your mind is on when you're younger. And then as you get older, it starts becoming more important to you. So we definitely bear witness to that. My next question for Amin is an engineering related question. As your brother, Jabril, he's a materials engineer, and engineering. He talks about his journey in engineering all the time. did you decide engineering to follow in his footsteps, or was engineering something you wanted to do because you liked it yourself, or was was a combination of both?
Yeah. Well, one thing that was I just heard that was really interesting is that y'all were homeschooled. Me and Jabril were too. So shout out to homeschooling.
Yeah, shout out.
Big shout out to Kimberly, Brother Kyle,
But
all
all the parents.
Mr. Bill, our parent.
But when me and Jabril, to be honest, when we were younger, we always like STEM. To be like really, if I'm being, I think Jabril, I think he did a thing where it was maybe like a what's the where you went and you wanted to be on the it was the environmental science. The meteorology program.
Right. Want to be a weatherman.
Yeah. Right. The Hopes program.
Glenn Shorts. Yeah. So me and Jabril always wanted to do science. It was a small when I was younger. It was just what type of science did I want to do, or what type of engineering I want to do. When I was younger, I remember I wanted to kind of I talked about just being like a construction worker. When I was really little, I just like seeing the trucks and the cranes moving and everything like that. But I really got into it and really came into what I wanted to do when I saw my brother go through high school and when I saw him go to college, because I had the opportunity, because Jabril went to University of Pennsylvania. He was close to some professors. Around his graduation time, I was actually, talking to professors at UPenn about what I wanted to do, just, casually. And I just kind of kept going with it. So I would say Jabril definitely inspired me. Definitely seeing everything that he went through, but it was something that I always wanted to do. But I think the biggest thing was seeing him go through everything kind of prepared me. So I knew that this engineering, road, or this road to STEM or whatever, I knew it was going to be a lot of, bad days. I knew everything wasn't going to be super easy. Some things would be easy. I just knew that wasn't going to happen. And I knew, and I think when I got to high school, me and my brother actually went to the same high school. When I got to high school, I knew like it wasn't, some things were going to be easy, but some things were going to be extremely difficult. I knew going to college. I knew that college was not going to be an easy feat, especially in engineering. So, it like I said, to answer the question, Jabril definitely inspired me, but it was definitely something me and him always had a passion for doing ourselves.
Dope.
Wow, it's so funny. Like as you're talking about this, I hear, I have to take a step back and really, really, really thank the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because we sit here as products of what he taught. Talking about set up schools under a tree. What I'm saying? Take your children. Not that we were homeschooled our whole time, but those formative years. For myself, second to ninth grade, then transferring to engineering and science, like me, you, and mom went to in 10th grade.
Yeah.
The ability of parents to see, to understand first off that your child is going to be interested in certain things. Then to not only see the interest, but see the skill set too. To where you just naturally gravitate to certain things and want to be around, and then create your environment so that you are not only building upon what you like, but also the necessary skill sets and soft and hard skills to make you successful in real life. Like when we played sports growing up, it wasn't like we was going to the league. It was like we knew that teamwork, leadership, overcoming obstacles was important for us later on down the line. So I'm very thankful for not only the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but our parents and all of our parents seeing the importance of that and trying to instill that in us from a young age. So that was super, super important.
Yes, definitely.
I want to segue, bro, and I'm not gonna let you off the hook. You mentioned your research like twice.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't be a STEM show if we didn't get into that nitty gritty and talk about some of the research you've done, for what you can say, both this summer and last summer. I know you were at UC San Diego doing research in, some things that I like, some materials based things the last 2 summers. So kind of talk about us, the foundation of your research. I know you're part of the CAR STEM Scholars Program. bit about that and how it connects to the research that you're doing.
Absolutely. So again, like when I came to Howard, I'm studying mechanical engineering. But as I continued and I kind of looked at different research paths I wanted to kind of go on, I realized that for my PhD, and like Jabril mentioned, I'm in the CAR STEM Scholars Program. And the aim of this program is to increase the number of Black students who earn PhDs or MD PhDs in STEM-related disciplines. So we're tied to pursuing a PhD and a STEM degree. So I didn't want to do my PhD in mechanical engineering, to be honest. I realized that I wanted to do it in nano engineering or nanotech. So that's kind of where what I wanted to do in my research kind of started. And I looked at programs that had nano engineering. And to be honest, there aren't that many. It's a very new degree, to be honest, both undergrad and on the graduate level. And I found the University of California, San Diego, two of my fellow cohort members in the CAR STEM Scholars Program did that program the year prior to me. And I found out that they had a nano engineering department there. So once I started out there, not this summer, but last summer, I was put in the lab and I realized that the type of research I was doing was heavily based in biology and material science, which are not really my background. So getting put in a lab like that was kind of different. I was doing 3D bioprinting, and I was basically trying to create a cell culture device for spheroid culture. So I learned about synthetic materials, biodegradable materials. I learned that, for the type of cell culture I was doing, we had to use synthetic biomaterials so that the cells didn't get stuck. If we use, for instance, a biodegradable material, for the type of cell culture we were doing, we wouldn't see them suspended. They would get stuck on the side of the dish or anything like that. So I learned a lot of things that were outside of my range, but I really enjoyed it. And then coming up on this summer, I got into the program again, and I knew that I wanted to, pursue my PhD in nano engineering. So I worked in the nano engineering department again under a different professor, and I worked with diffusion with hydrogels, which again, throwing me out of that's really not mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering is heavily based in thermodynamics, dynamics, solid mechanics. It's not really material science or biology or even some chemistry. So there were a lot of things, a lot of papers I had to read to understand what I was doing, both years. But yeah, that's typically what my research dealt with.
What are some? Oh, good. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to connect actually back to Nadia because
okay,
going on his research, I'm just thinking about being taken out of your comfort zone. And one of the things that gives me anxiety when I see it is when I see the interpreters real time interpreting what the speaker is saying. Can you take us through that? Is there like a delay? What's the pacing like?
I'm interested to know that too. That's quick.
I always wondered that.
Unpack that for us. That is so. It's like hard. It's like literally like I'm getting anxiety and I'm not even doing it. So like, talk to us about that.
And do they get tired too? Like I know they be up there for a long time. And I was like, y'all, I know they tired.
So I've never physically interpreted anywhere officially anywhere. I did like in the past, like before, but it was never. It was just more of like a training session, like an exercise. But as far as the interpreting process, there's a lot that goes into it. You would think that they wouldn't be as tired as somebody who works a physically demanding job. But the mental capacity that it takes for them to intake the English language and produce it in a way that from their hands and from their face, their body movement, their facial expressions, their body movements, their hand positionings, their hand shape is all involved and all including. You got to think like, okay, so say if they're interpreting for the president.
Okay.
Or say if you're interpreting the Star Spangled Banner. That's a song. So it's not something that has a static set or a static something that is that everybody that is a certain song that every interpreter has to assign. The interpreter, when it comes to music, has to interpret it in their own way. Their interpretation of the song might be different from another interpreter's interpretation of the song, but it's still all connected in a way. There's some parts that are still the same. Some interpreters have teams, so that team could consist of one or two more, three more people. And what they do is they take 20. One interpreter signs for a certain amount of time, and then the other interpreter comes up and signs for a certain amount of time. Hands up and then hands down. Even when their hands are down, which is when they're not interpreting, they still have to be aware of what's being said, what the interpreter that does have their hands up, what they are doing, and basically be a backup. So if I miss it, I got somebody in the back that didn't miss it, and they can give it to me so I can relay it to the deaf audience. It needs to be as authentic as possible. So whatever the speaker says, however the speaker says it, is how you have to interpret it, how you have to give it. Because just like those hearing people in the audience get to enjoy the full authentic message, the deaf people audience deserve the same rights and respect. So you also have to think about that. You also got to think about, like then your environment can also affect your signing quality and the interpretation. If it's cold outside and you don't have proper equipment to hear on, interpretation is not going to be the best that it can be because you're so focused on, wow, I'm really cold. You don't, and then it's everything the speaker has said, and it's just like, oh, I'm really hot, or it's like your environment plays a big factor in that as well. And the quality of your interpretation, you got to think about the fact that it's an emergency and they're giving. Say it was like a weather emergency. The governor comes on to issue a state of emergency and tell us what to do next. That interpreter has to be focused, has to be aware, has to understand how to convey this into ASL so the deaf audience and in the audience that at the press conference can what's going on, what they need to do to get themselves into safety, what they need to do to get their families together as well. And so you also got to think about that. Wow, like that have people's lives in my hands. So I think about that too. Like depending on what setting you're in, like if it's judicial, medical, state emergency, you got to think like, wow, if I mess this up, if I say this wrong, this could be somebody's life, or this could be somebody's health in jeopardy. So you also got to think about that as well. So there's a lot that goes into it, but like say or education. That's a good one too. Like if you're an interpreter for a student in the classroom, you got to make sure that you don't necessarily have to know the subject that you're teaching, but you need to have, interpreting, but you need to have some type of baseline of what's being taught so you could be aware and what to expect next in that curriculum. Because that's that child's education in play. Because they can't hear, they're not understanding what's going on because they don't have the hearing capability as the rest of the students. So you also got to think about that too. But that gives me the most anxiety, like the highest of anxiety, is you need to know like certain things in every field that you're going. Like, I want to interpret in the medical setting. I'm going to have to know some things before I do that. And then another thing, when it comes to interpreters, they're not necessarily readily available, especially in the medical field. Like if it's an emergency, interpreter available on call, and then that deaf person is something they can't convey it. That deaf person is no longer here with us. So you also got to think about you got to think about, oh, well, if I mess this up, then this and this happen because you are how they communicate. You are how they are able to tell what's going on with them and what to do next, what they need from that medical professional, any type of professional. So you got to think about that too. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. Interpreting and translation are not the same thing. So translation, like say if you're translating for a concert, you already know that song. You already have that song available. You could practice that song up until the date of the concert because you have it available. If you're when you're interpreting, I'm not gonna do this because that means anyway. So when you're interpreting, you have to. It's not something you don't know what's going to be said. You're not given the you're not giving the music, you're not giving the script. And you just
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
So when you see the interpreter on the news, they not necessarily know what's going to be interpreted. They know the topic, they know it's being addressed, but they don't know everything word for word. So as they're not translating anything, it's not something that is cold. When it's cold, that means you don't know what to expect or what's going to be spoken about. Warm or hot means you know what's going to, what's going to be said. You have some expectation said, or either you have the script in front. So translators are more warm material, interpreters are more cold material. So you never know what to really expect. So it's like you see somebody interpreting a they've had time to practice. And interpreting for a news conference, they have time to practice.
Right.
Wow.
So you also got to think about that. That's what people get that confused. I thought they were the same thing before I started, but they're not. People get confused about. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You got to think, oh, you're getting English thrown at you, and now you got to throw it out to somebody else, different language, but with the same meaning, the same type of feeling, but it's a different language. How do you do that? And you got to do that at the same exact time. You get it, you got to spit it out. You can have some delay. Say you're letting the person talk, and there's some delay in between. So they're talking, you're letting them talk, and what they just talked, and now you got to go back and figure out what they said after that, and then sign that. And that's why you don't want too much gap in between time. So, like I said, there's a lot that goes into it. Still not ready for that as of yet, but like, say it's just, yeah, that was it.
Oh yeah, man, that was
wow.
Yeah.
Every time I see that now, I'm gonna look at that totally differently now, and
Absolutely.
I definitely respect what they do.
Yes.
While they're up there, especially with serious topics like what's going on in the world right now with the pandemic and there's anything going on, the seriousness of what they interpret.
Don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
Another thing what you just brought up about what's going on in the world. My teacher, Carrie Humphreys, she was on the news interpreting about the protest, about everything that's been going on in the world. So if you are on the other side of it and you're thinking, oh, this is really wrong, and like you're sitting there and you have to interpret this stuff, you also have to hold back your emotions and something.
Right.
Wow.
That's so you can't let that show. Even if somebody is you do not agree with at all, that's your sign. Interpret. So you have to. Can you imagine having to interpret something you are totally against and totally do not agree with, but you have to because it's just like everybody deserves to hear this, whether they're deaf, hard of hearing. Everybody deserves to hear what this person has to say because this person deserves to be heard as well. So you also have to think about that, like, wow, I might not like what they're saying, but everybody deserves a chance to speak and everybody deserves to hear their message. Just even just to be aware, even if you don't agree with it, just to be like, okay, they're saying this, and this. Everybody needs to be aware about what this person is talking about because it could be something that's going to affect them long run or down the line. You also got to think about that. That's all I wanted to say about that.
Thank you so much. And thorough.
Yes. So I want to take some time to and I'm gonna get into a question I have for Amin later after this. But I thought these were two interesting questions that Rolando Lyles, he's a prostate cancer researcher, brought up. The first question, well, it's not the first, it's the second question I'm asking first. To the both of you, what has your older sibling meant and been to you as your desire to pursue STEM grew and developed? Who wants to answer that one first?
I mean, I just finished talking. I mean to go.
I think.
Be honest.
No
need to lie here.
Way past that. To be honest, it was it was a lot of good and bad, to be perfectly honest. Well, let's say when I was younger, I identified it more as negative because Jabril did very well, went to a great school and everything like that. And when you're a younger sibling, you know, that's a lot to look at. A lot of times, like, you know, for any younger sibling watching or Nadia, you can see. So it's like, oh wow, it's a lot of stuff. But to be honest, as I've kind of gotten older, it's been more of a, you know, you see that the person, as perfect as you thought they are, they're like better and worse than what you thought they were in certain aspects. So if I'm being honest about that, it's like from my eyes when I was younger, Jabril never seemed like he struggled to me in anything. But then, you know, he told me that everything's not going to be easy and everything and stuff like that. And I think I touched on it earlier. Going to high school, going to college. I feel like some college students that I was around that went to college that were first generation, or they're studying something that nobody else in their family ever studied. They always felt like it's only them going through it, or this. I'm doing something that like, man, like it seems like nobody else is going through this. But like all the stress, even though it was like a lot, all the stress and everything, I'm still going through in college. Jabril told me of that, warned me of that many times. So I thank him for that, because if I didn't have an older brother and just went to school for engineering, it'd be a lot of things when they came at me. I would say, oh my goodness, you know, I have to stop, or man, I can't do this, or I must be like the only person going through it. But seeing, no, he talked about this too. He mentioned this too. He also said professors can be like this. He said this class can be like this. You know, it kind of prepared me for that. And I feel like I wasn't as thrown off as other students, because, you know, if you really don't know how to get up if you've never been punched in the mouth before. You know what I'm saying? Or never seen anybody get punched in the mouth. That's another thing. Again, this is a STEM punch, if you will. But seeing Jabril talk about classes or anything like that, it really helped me in my journey. Not that it's done, but, you know, my continuing journey. And every once in a while, me and Jabril have conversations about, you know, school or this. Jabril give me advice about, you know, well, maybe try this. Or I think the biggest advice Jabril gave me was to not wait too long or feel or be too like arrogant to ask for help. That's a big thing a lot of people struggle with. I think most students, those who do well, those who don't, a lot of people don't want to ask for help. And I always thought really highly of people that would reach out to help immediately, because they just want the information. They didn't care if I don't know this, or this person will look at me like this. They just ask for help. And that's something that I feel like I was able to notice and identify earlier, because I had Jabril telling me of certain things to avoid and certain things to do. So not just, of course, negative things, but certain things that Jabril did. Jabril studies extremely hard. Okay, so, and when I was younger, I was looking at, oh, why is he studying all the time? He doesn't do anything but study and everything like that. And now that I'm in that position, I'm like, no wonder he was studying hard. You know, this stuff requires many hours. So I think that's what he's meant to me in terms of my path.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Appreciate it, bro. All right, Nadia, it's time for you to start lying. I mean, it's time to tell it.
So as far as my career choice in American Sign Language, I'm not going to say that my brother hasn't been supportive or there or understood, like, but because it was outside of his comfort zone and outside of his career choice and his career field, I did get picked on a little bit, like a sibling should.
I got a story for that.
Because I don't know who's watching right now. I'm not going to say what he used to call me.
I
don't want to. Do we have the closed captions on this?
Yeah. So those who are watching who need it, there's a button that they can press that'll pop up when they need to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
If there is nobody that's deaf or hard of hearing, that's why make sure that they still have access.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you. So I'm not gonna say the name he used to call me. We're not doing that. But it did kind of discourage me a little bit, but it didn't really bother me that much because me and my brother would go back and forth and pick with each other about a lot of things. So I never took anything he said personally. He's probably the reason why I don't take things too personally. Because we used to go hard at each other. I'm not gonna say that we used to be abusive towards each other, but just as it should be. But
it's all good. I make up for it. now. It's all good.
But being a younger sister to a brother is like it showed me a lot of things. It brought me outside of my comfort zone for a lot of things. It's easier for me to talk to a male than it is for me to talk to a female, and I don't know why. I grew up around females, had females in my life, but because of my brother, it's easy for me to communicate with a man or with a male. Than it is to communicate with a female. And I've noticed that there's a lot of female in the field, especially from what I've encountered in Virginia. I know I had one deaf male teacher when I was at Reynolds. And the head of the department is a hearing male at my school. But it was more easier to go to them or interact with them than it was for my female teachers. Don't know why. I'm guessing because the relationship that I have with my brother. But seeing my brother leave the house and go to school and seeing the connections that he made outside of school and the connections that he has made outside of school was very eye-opening because I'm not that type of person. I'm not an outgoing person. Terry's outgoing. I'm not.
No, I'm not. But go ahead. I got what you're saying. You want to see outgoing? Jabril is outgoing.
I can tell that. I can see.
Yeah.
But you could have fooled me. You put on a good game and a good show.
He does.
I ain't gonna lie.
But I had to learn how to adapt those same behaviors. I'm not an outgoing person. I'm extremely shy. Me 5 years ago would have never did anything like this. Honestly, because it's not me. But I'm used to it now. I'm used to speaking in front of people, and it's because of my brother and because I watched what he did. I'm like, oh, we grew up together. We had the same life experiences. So it's just like if he can do it, so can I. And it's just like seeing him like make his connections and build his relationships helped me learn how to build mine and what to do to maintain those relationships. Even if you just want something from that person, don't make it seem like that's all you want is just that one thing from that person. I'm not saying butter them up, but like that's what you have to do with people. People don't like somebody that just comes at them just asking them for stuff.
Right.
People like, how are you doing? Or I hope everything is well with you. Start up a conversation.
Right.
I've noticed him do that a lot. And I implied that same method to my relationships and towards how I work with people. I'm not going to say that that's the only reason why I interact with people is to get ahead or to get what I want, but that's what you have to do in order to get ahead or get what you want and need. But there's a way you can go about it, and I like that from him. That helped me build my relationships, helped me get my foot in the door to a lot of things, and helped me realize my potential. So as far as like my career, he didn't have no influence necessarily, but as far as like my relationship with people and how I maintain those relationships, he has helped me with a lot.
Wow. You know,
I didn't even know that. That's what's up. I ain't crying or nothing, you know. I'm just
I'm
just congested. I'm just like, but no, I do appreciate that. And you know, even though our career paths aren't similar, like, you know, you guys are, you know, I still see a lot of, you know, a lot of the, like you said, the way we do things are similar. So, you know, it's refreshing to see that I had that kind of impact on, you know, what you do. So praise be to Allah. You forgot to say I'm amazing at science, but go ahead. We move on. No, go ahead. Jabril, you were saying something?
No, it's just I was just gonna mention what you're talking about, sis, when you're talking about dealing with people, asking how they are. I would think about my time in Africa, you know, in Ghana, where that's the rule of the day. You cannot come amongst a family and them not be concerned with your health, your children, your family. You can't ask for no fake. That's what you come in. You ask you all this question. You gotta sit there. You gotta eat. You gotta do all these things before you can get to quote unquote business, because that whole "it takes a village" is real. It's more than just a quote that we may like to throw around in our community or whatever. It's real there. And then what you were talking about getting to know people and networking. There's a book by Dale Carnegie that I've read. I need to read it again, called How to Win Friends and Influence People, where he goes over these different skill sets and tactics, and not in a malicious way, but to really learn how to connect with people and establish influence. So then you can be like a Tariq. Like me and Tariq work together, so I'll see how he's able to connect with people and bring people into our sphere of influence for Original Man Scientific and the STEM Files. And he considers himself shy, you know what I'm saying? But he's very dutiful and he's consistent in what he does, and he finds a system and he works that system, which is what a lot of successful people do. There is a second part of this question too that we want to get into. Tariq, did you want to read that?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Second question is, let's see here. Okay, so this is for the host.
Right.
How have you both felt watching your younger siblings follow in your footsteps as STEM scholars? What is one thing that you would tell them as they enter the next phase of their career?
You want to start or you want me to start?
You can start. You can start.
All right, you sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, it's so crazy. Listening to you speak just now about the different things. You know, I think back to when I was in school and what I went through, some of which was my own doing, some that might have been external. And a lot of the things that you mentioned about studying hard, those are things that I look up to you for. You know, as my younger brother, you know, watching you matriculate and being able to have conversations now, not more than brother to brother, but man to man. You know, you're 21, you know, I'm 26. So now when we talk, we can laugh and joke, but we talk about real things. And I'm able to see you as not only my brother, but as a matriculating engineer, and you doing high level research and everything. So I feel like instead of following my own footsteps, you have been making your own waves and establishing and putting your own foot in front of the other, creating your own path. And that was one thing I was kind of worried about when you went to engineering and science, if people would compare you to me, you know. And I think that was something that we talked about growing up, because you always like to compare yourself to me. And I never liked when you did that, because I am not your goal. Your goal is set past me. You know, and the thing is, they always talk about, you know, fathers, and they extend farther. I'm not your father, but I do want you to do everything that you do for yourself. So I have been extremely proud of all of that you've done, the man that you are and are becoming, and can't wait to see what you do, not only in science, but for your nation and for your people. You know, so and there is a job waiting for you. when you work for me, you know what I'm saying? My thing, I told Rolando the same thing. So when y'all get these doctorates and y'all know how much y'all need to make or whatever, we gonna make it happen, so that y'all can come and work for yourselves. So, you know, I'm very proud of you. If it's one or two things I would tell you, is never forget your love of science. Sometimes in school everything's a test, a paper, a quiz. Don't forget that you love science and that it's all around you, and that's what got you into it. And then also remember that for both of you, a job is not the goal. A job is a stepping stone. I know for a fact that neither one of you were raised to just want to get a job. Remember why you do what you do when you're in your research and you're working and you get that nice pay, that you want to bring it back to your nation and your people. That's all I have.
Sir, I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah. And I'm going to touch on something that Nadia said earlier about me picking on her a little bit. And she's telling the truth. I did pick on her a little bit. There was the names that I'm not going to say I called her names, but the adjectives.
The adjectives. Okay.
Or the descriptive language that I used was that of I'm not going to mention them, but it wasn't derogatory. It wasn't something that made her feel bad or anything like that. It was just describing what she was doing or what have you.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, when you started, and I'm going to speak directly to you. I don't know why I'm saying but when you started getting interested in sign language, I didn't really take it seriously. Like you said, I didn't like that dance program. I'm not a dancer. Me and Jabril are polar opposites when it comes to how we have fun. So I'm not a dancer. I'm not a big on entertainment or being all that, this, that, and that. I can dance. I just don't dance in front of people. Oh, you let Jabril. Come on, like back me up on this. And I'm just not into that. And when you were able to get interested in that program and be more, engaged with it, I respected that. Then when I saw you starting to study more about sign language, starting to get involved in more programs related to sign language and teaching us how to sign the correct way, the incorrect way, how to respect the deaf community and the different things that they find or just find derogatory for their community. I was very, very proud of how you were able to handle yourself in that, And for someone who is not in that field, I'm involved in medicine. I see both of what we do as a part of health. Being able to communicate and being able to relay a message to someone is part of the overall goal of healthy lungs. So I wasn't disappointed that you no longer wanted to be a doctor, even though I wanted you to be a doctor. I wanted you to go into something involved in medicine, but as you grew in what you loved, I realized it was no longer about what I wanted. It was never about what I wanted. It was always about what you wanted. But I started to just like let my guard down and be like, okay, look, I accept it. This is what you want to do. I always love learning about sign language from you. Just from what you told us on the interview just now, incredible. And the one thing I would tell you is pretty much what Jabril said. Remember why you started. Remember your passion. Remember what it took for you to get to where you are now. We always liked the end product. We never embraced the struggle and the journey that it took to get there. To me, the journey is better than the product because the journey makes up the product.
Right.
So if you can just remember to respect, keep the journey at the forefront of your mind. Make sure that when you're done in your training and done in your education, that you do everything that you want to do, set up the business you want to set up, develop the products you want to develop, because I already know some of them products, and trust and believe, like Jabril said, OMS will help you develop those products. You can guarantee that. So yeah, I love you.
I love you too.
Continue to do what you're doing. Like I said, I'm just dealing with congestion issues. I'm just congested. I'm not crying or anything like that. But I respect you and everything that you've done. I'm not just laying it on thick because we're on a live stream, but and I don't tell you this often, but I look up to you in certain ways. And there's a reason I don't tell you because you're my younger sister. I'm not gonna tell you, but I look up to you in certain ways. You know, and I'm not gonna lie, I haven't always been the consistent. I haven't always been consistent. I've always been dutiful in certain areas. You know, I fell short in a lot of areas in the past. You know that. Jabril knows that. I mean, you know that. You know, and anything that involves you saying you love something is gonna try you.
Woo!
God is gonna try you.
That's right.
So don't be talking about what you love and not willing to be tried on. Oh, you love sign language? Oh, really? Really? And you did your thing. You stood those tests, and I'm proud of you for that. But I'm not gonna go on anymore. But you know where I'm coming from. You know.
Thank you.
No problem.
I love you too, bro. Wasn't gonna leave you out there.
Yeah.
Knows for the record that Tariq has never suffered from congestion on the show before. So I don't know what
yeah, this is the first. I don't know what's going on.
Family, time has been well spent. We did have another question. We'll see if we want to go into it. But this has been the STEM Files. Siblings in STEM. We have unpacked with our near and dear siblings their respective areas and a bit about their background and kind of what makes them who they are and how it all runs in the family. Again, we are your host, Jabril engineer, Tariq Cardiac. Thank you, Nadia and Amin, for coming on the show with us. Please continue to share when we post this up with your friends and family. Let everybody know we appreciate all the support and that we're going to continue to bring them action-packed STEM content on the STEM Files, where we highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, hoping to change the world one day at a time. Tariq, is there anything else you'd like to add before we end the show?
Yeah.
Oh, so people know how to get in touch with him, right? My bad.
Yeah. So I'm trying to put a banner up right now for you guys' social media, but if you can tell us your social media, how can we get in contact with you and spell out your social media handles?
Okay. So, or if you want to go, I go. So my Instagram is conveniently_brilliant. So CONVENIENTY_BRILLIANT. Hopefully that's spelled conveniently right.
Okay, Akila.
What's the thing she used to do? The little tap. To keep her,
What about you, Nadia?
So I'm trying to remember my Instagram, but my Facebook is my name, how it's spelled right here on my on the video on my video screen. That's Nadia Muhammad. That's a good way to get in contact with me on my Facebook. My Instagram name is NAYYDIY. So at Nadia. That's my Instagram. And from there you can find me everywhere. My I don't know my Twitter name. I know that,
yeah.
Oh, good.
Facebook is the best way to get in contact with me, or my contact information be provided through my brother. But yeah, those are the best ways to get in contact.
Awesome.
Great. And for those who would like to know more about the STEM Files and what we do, definitely check us out on our social media handles at The STEM Files on both Facebook and YouTube, exactly as you see it written on the screen. And then, of course, on Instagram at The STEM Files. If you see that logo, if you don't see that logo, it's not us. I repeat, if you don't see that logo, it's not us.
That's right.
All right. Jabril, you have anything you want to add?
Nah,
real quick.
Go ahead.
My bad. I don't mean to cut you off. So our next guest for the STEM Files is Dr. Kelly Knight. She's a forensic scientist, and she'll be joining us Thursday, August 27th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely check that out. Jabril?
Yes, sir. Family, as we end, we have thoroughly enjoyed this show. Again, there's nothing like highlighting family, not only the family ties, but the great things that your family does, especially if they're coming behind you. Not so much following your footsteps, but creating their own footsteps for people to follow them. Love y'all so much. Again, this is Jabril engineer and Tariq Cardiac signing off on the STEM Files. Until next time, love y'all, family. Peace.
Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
Peace.
Alaikum salam.
So,